Sir Keir Starmer has accused Russian President Vladimir Putin of making hollow promises when it comes to ending the war with Ukraine. The Prime Minister is in Paris today, meeting world leaders from 30 nations as part of the coalition of the willing to determine what a peacekeeping force in Ukraine could look like. In a statement released earlier today, as the Prime Minister has said, unlike President Zelensky, Putin has shown he's not a serious player in these peace talks and said that the US is playing a leading role by convening the ceasefire talks. But despite believing that Putin wants the war to come to an end, President Trump has also suggested Vladimir Putin is dragging his feet when it comes to a ceasefire agreement. Welcome, Mikhail Kasyanov, who was Prime Minister of Russia in Putin's first term. Welcome, former Prime Minister. Thank you for joining me.
Good afternoon.
Do you think that Vladimir Putin really wants a peace deal at all?
At least, and not the period of time. I'm sure that there is no doubt he doesn't need peace just within these few months. He believes he has a strong position, and he is watching how President Trump trying to press Ukraine, and just watching how just Europeans trying to produce something. Yet he is just in a good position. He's dragging time out here. He's dragging out time, and he doesn't want just serious negotiations. He rejected unconditional ceasefire. He rejected partial ceasefire on the Black Sea. He rejected partial ceasefire on the infrastructure. He just simply is sitting and watching.
Well, I asked my previous guest whether he could take us into the room with Donald Trump, take the listeners into the room. I suppose you could take us into the room in Russian decision-making. Give us a bit of an insight into how Vladimir Putin operates and how he thinks.
As I said, during this period of time, he believes that financial position he has quite sustainable, and he believes just that the United States would stop financing Ukraine and would stop support and would stop sharing intelligence information, and that will help him considerably to continue his war of attrition and just to destroy Ukraine. And that what just I'm with quite a positive have indications from the meetings, just what European leaders sitting and discussing how to replace. I think that's the only scenario could be just to replace by Europeans, just to replace US support and provide Ukraine with all necessary equipment, all necessary information and finance. Of course, support to the United States would be crucial, at least to continue to provide intelligence information to Ukraine. But I think just Mr. Trump doesn't want to spend money. And that's what's just evident. And all his proposals, just he wants to stop this. Even negotiations he tried to conduct just to force Zelensky and Putin sit down and to negotiate. That seems to be just he simply wants to achieve ceasefire, but not a lasting peace, comprehensive agreement. That's what the difference. What Europeans want and what the new US president wants.
Vladimir Putin said this week he'd only implement a Ukraine-Russia Black Sea ceasefire if agricultural sanctions were eased on Russia. So give us an idea of how bad these sanctions have affected Russia.
Yeah, in fact, the sanctions were already imposed for the period of 3 years. And then initially, they didn't play any considerable role apart of one part of sanction, which was the price cap for oil. That gave an immediate effect for Putin's budget. But all others was just middle-term pressure on economy. Right now, after 3 years, the accumulative negative effect of those sanctions on the economy just raising. And by the end of the year, Putin will face with the problems. Today, he has no problems from his understanding, but by the end of the year, he will. That's why just the period of time now, it's crucial for Ukraine. That means Ukraine needs just sustainable support right now and to survive for another year. And later in the year time, Putin would be in a much weaker position, and then he will be willing to negotiate. At least he will be prepared for some concessions. Right now, he doesn't want any concessions. He expecting that he will be given everything he wants.
So in our last item, we were told, Donald Trump's a great deal maker. We were talking about tariffs on that occasion. let's assess Donald Trump's deal-making abilities in this situation. To start off with, do you think that Vladimir Putin actually respects Donald Trump, or does he just simply, take the things that Trump says and bank them as concessions without really having a profound respect for him?
I think Mr. Putin simply already understood who is President Trump is about. And in fact, he understands that Trump wants just the ceasefire as soon as possible, at any cost. And that's why he's playing this game. And he already got something, just promised that Ukraine will never join NATO. He already got just the concession that Ukraine would never gain just its territorial integrity, etc. He demanding more and more. He, of course, badly needs just lifting sanctions. That's what he's trying. And just on this partial ceasefire on a Black Sea, he immediately asked just to lift sanctions from the agricultural sector and transportation. This is the first step for lifting all the sanctions. As I said, the economy just contracting just rapidly, and Putin needs just lifting sanctions.
Do you think that Donald Trump's going to give him this?
That's what we were all waiting for. If he swallows all this, I think Putin's things, just all this game, of course, I think the United States will get out of all these negotiations, I would say, attempts. And just today's the coalition of willing seems to be could replace United States initiative and be a leader of these, I would say, in this stage, not necessarily peace talks, but at least just support Ukraine to help Ukraine to survive and then to achieve a lasting peace.
Do you think that Russia is at all struck by European solidarity and behind Ukraine, or does he essentially think that Europe is bit part player because the machinery, the equipment, the money is all with the United States?
Yeah, in fact, in Kremlin, Putin in particular and his very close allies, they continue to believe that the whole world is structured on the decisions of U.S. administration. That's why Mr. Putin would like to have negotiations not with the President Zelensky. He wants to negotiate the fate of the world with the President Trump, the President of the United States, and just to be respected as a world leader. And he continue to believe that everything in the world could be settled by a U.S. president. And that's why just Europeans simply subordinated for the decision of Washington.
It sounds like you sort of agree. The former commander of the Estonian Defence Force told Times Radio this morning that, or recently, that Britain was unable to put together a 3,000 to 5,000 brigade-sized force, and therefore that we and others weren't really taking this defence seriously. What do you make of that assessment from a Russian perspective?
Yeah, I think, of course, they have all this information analyzing it. That's what I see, just the absolutely right decision just Europeans are making, Great Britain and the European Union, just to strengthen their defense and to spend more. And just to say frankly, just Mr. Trump was right, just blaming that Europeans didn't fund themselves just appropriately, just to raise defense expenditure. That's absolutely necessary. And I think that would be a real strong position of Europe and Great Britain if they do this in the upcoming future.
Well, Mikhail Kasyanov, former Prime Minister of Russia, thank you very much indeed for joining me.